God bless you, loved ones. Welcome to the Word with Chester. Today we'll continue study in the 13th chapter of the book of Leviticus. In our last study, we read down to verse 20. Today we will reread verse 20 and read to near chapter 40. I do ask that you pray for this ministry, that God will get the glory out of all that we do. I do many things, and I need your prayers that God will give me the strength to continue to do all the things that He has me doing at this time. Just in the way of announcements, on the 20th of June, that's this month, that's this coming Friday, I'll be singing at the Big Easy Restaurant in San Antonio, Texas. If you are in the San Antonio area, it would do you good to drop by. The Big Easy Restaurant sits right off of Walsham and Interstate 35. 35 and 410, they run together for a ways right there at Walsham Street. You exit there, you go, you see the International House of Pancakes. Right next door to the International House of Pancakes is the Big Easy Restaurant, and we will be singing there on this coming Friday, the 20th day of June, and I'm looking for you to be there, and we're looking forward to having a great time, and you'll be able to dine on some of the greatest Cajun food ever. This lady straight from New Orleans has come, and she has been in San Antonio for a while, since the Katrina incident, and she opened a very fine restaurant. This is actually her third location, and God is blessing that entity. Great food, you will dine sufficiently, and also you will hear some great music. I'll be singing the music that I wrote, and also I'll be introducing a couple of people that I produced, and they have good songs that are out there, great songs that we're getting ready to start selling, and also using their talent in the things that we do. So I encourage you to be there. You will be blessed, you will be uplifted, and you will dine sufficiently. So please be there. That's the 20th of this month. Also on the 21st, that is on Saturday. Now the 20th, I'll be at the Big Easy Restaurant. On the 21st, I will be at Comanche Park here in San Antonio, Texas. I'll be singing right around 1:45, and so I asked you to come. There's going to be a complete day of entertainment. I won't be the only singer on Saturday. There'll be several people. The program actually starts at about 11, and I'll be singing right around 1:45, and it will go on through the day, and you will be blessed if you come. Just come and hear the great music, talents of all backgrounds. You hear music of all genres. So please come and enjoy the Lord. Enjoy that day at the park. Also on the 27th day of this month, I'll be in Dallas, Texas at the Faithful Missionary Baptist Church on Bonneview Road. So please come and be there. I'll be there at 7 o'clock. So come and enjoy the Lord there. I'll be there with the Gospel Announcers Guild. So please come and enjoy the Lord there in Dallas on the 27th. Well, let's go into our study today. In verse 20, we will reread it. I know we read it in our last lesson, but let's reread it. And if when the priest shall see it, behold, it is in slight lower than the skin, and their hair thereof be turned white, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy broken out of the boil. Well, God has given commandments and letting them know about this dreadful disease called leprosy, and letting the priests know, and also who all would study this book, read this book, know what leprosy was and how to spot it, how to know the difference between leprosy and another rash. And this was the priest's job, to look at these things and be able to know what was leprosy and what wasn't, and pronounce one clean or unclean. You got to understand, leprosy was a dreaded disease in that day, much like AIDS is today. If you contacted leprosy, unless God intervened, you had to live with that the rest of your lives, and many times your life was cut short because of that disease. So God was dealing with this disease. You got to understand His love for the children of Israel and His love for you and I. We have to understand that God went the extra mile to teach them and command them so that diseases like that would not overtake Israel and not overtake the people He loved, and gave them how to spot it and what to do and how to do and deal with the situation of leprosy. Now, verse 21, but if the priest look on it, and behold, there is no white hair there, therein, and if it be not lower than the skin, but is somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. In other words, put him in quarantine and watch him for 7 days. And if it spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is indeed a plague. Well, you got to understand, the priest, God is instructing them what to watch for, what to do. In other words, this disease is so bad, we can't take any chances. If you're not sure, put this person in quarantine and watch him 7 days. And after the 7 days, we'll look at it again. Verse 23 reads, but if the bright spot stay in its place and spread not, it is a burning boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Well, get the picture. Pronounced clean and pronounced unclean. If the priest said it's leprosy, you were pronounced unclean. And then we're going to read about what they did with people that were pronounced unclean and what they had to do and the lifestyle that they had to live. But if it was not that, you got to understand there's other rashes besides leprosy. And the priest had to know the difference if it was just a rash on the skin or just something that come up. You got to understand, especially when you're going through the wild, you contact poison ivy and other things, and the priest had to know the difference whether this was just a rash or just something that you made maybe a temporary sore or something like that. That between that and leprosy. Now, in verse 24, or if there be any flesh in the skin, whereof there is a hot burning, and the live flesh that burneth have a white bright spot, somewhat reddish or white, then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, it is the hair. If the hair in the bright spot be turned white, and it be in sight deeper than the skin, it is a leprosy broken out of the burning. Therefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. Can you understand what the priest's job and what he had to do? He had to look at things close, he had to examine it, and he had the authority to proclaim or say that someone was clean or unclean. If they had leprosy, they were unclean. If it was just a sore or a rash, he would pronounce them clean, or either put them in quarantine and watch it for a while so they would see how it would develop. Let me reread 25. And the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the hair in the bright spot be turned white, and it be in sight deeper than the skin, it is a leprosy broken out of the burning. Wherefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. Let's continue reading in 26. But if the priest look on it, and behold, there is no white hair in the bright spot, and it is no lower than the other skin, but is somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. In other words, put him in quarantine. We're going to watch this. He has a spot on his hand, on his skin somewhere. It doesn't have all the symptoms of leprosy, but we're going to put him in quarantine for 7 days. Now, verse 27, and the priest shall look upon him and the 7th day, and if it be spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. Verse 28, and if the bright spot stay in its place, and spread not in the skin, but be somewhat dark. It is a swelling of the burning, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, if it be an inflammation of the burning. Shall we continue reading? If the man or woman have a plague upon the head or the beard. Now, upon the head, upon the beard, let's read. If the man or woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, then the priest shall see the plague, and behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry, scabby eruption, even a leprosy upon the head or the beard. Well, he's giving them to know exactly how to spot this leprosy. You got to understand, it was such a disease, they had to go through these precautions to protect the rest of Israel. It was very contagious. Anything that's contagious, you have to treat like this. Now, verse 31, and if the priest look on the plague of the leprosy, of the scabby eruption, and behold, it is not in sight deeper than the skin, and there be no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut up him that hath the plague of the scabby eruption 7 days. In other words, the leprosy, wherever the scab would be, that sore would sink in down below the rest of the skin. It would be, I don't know how much deeper, but it would be lower than the rest of the skin. Well, the priest knew how to find these things, and then if they was not sure if the scab was there, or the sore was there, it was not deeper than the rest of the skin, then they put him in quarantine and still watched him 7 days, because sometimes, especially new sores, things develop. You got to understand, if it's a sore on your hand, God has a healing agent in you. In a process of time, it will start to heal, and the evidence of healing will be there. But if it was leprosy, it would not be healing. It would be getting worse. So the priest knew how to watch the situation, so that he would know that if this was leprosy or just some other rash or sore that someone had on their person. In verse 32, and in the 7th day, the priest shall look on the plague, and behold, if the scabby eruption spread not, and there be in it no yellow hair, and the eruption be not in sight deeper than the skin, he shall be shaved, but the scabby eruption shall he not shave, and the priest shall shut him up in that he hath the eruption 7 days more. They'll shave him, not where the sore is, but then shut him up and put him in quarantine 7 more days. They're going to watch it longer now. Let's read in verse 34, and the 7th day the priest shall look on the eruption, and behold, if the eruption be not spread in the skin, nor be in sight deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean, and he shall wash his clothes and be clean. In verse 35, but if the scabby eruption spread much in the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall look on him, and behold, if the eruption be spread in the skin, the priest shall not seek for yellow hair, for he is unclean. But if the scabby eruption be in the sight at the stay, and that there is black hair grown up therein, the eruption is healed. He is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Well, you got to get the picture. The priest will know the difference. Now, verse 38, if a man also or a woman have in the skin of their flesh bright spots, even white bright spots, in verse 39, then the priest shall look, and behold, if the bright spot in the skin of their flesh be darkish white, it is a freckle spot, not that groweth in the skin, skin, he is clean. Can you get the picture? They have to watch all things. They have to examine all things. Some things just happen. You got to understand. Sometimes rashes break out, and sometimes there's a freckle comes on the skin, and sometimes a mole will come up on the skin. You got to understand a lot of things can happen on the skin, but the priest would know what was leprous and what was not just by examining it, and if it was down below the skin, then possibly it was leprosy. So the priest knew how to look for this. Now let's read in verse 40. And the man whose hair is fallen off his head, he is bald, yet is he clean. If you got to understand, a whole lot of people go bald, and I'm not busting on bald people because it could happen to anybody anytime. And the man whose hair is fallen off his head, he is bald, yet is he clean. If you go bald, that don't mean you have the leprosy. That don't mean you have some kind of fatal disease. This is what the Word of God's saying. You're still clean. Let's read verse 41. And he that hath his hair fallen off from the part of his head toward his face, he is forehead bald, yet is he clean. Well, I'm going to read that verse again. I'm going to read it slow. Verse 41, and he that hath his hair fallen off from the part of his head toward his face, he is forehead bald, yet is he clean. Forehead bald. Now that you got to understand, people that are bald up here in the front, they are forehead bald. Now I don't want you to go around busting on people, calling them forehead bald and all that kind of stuff. You got to watch yourself. You got to understand, we don't want to offend people, but the Word of God is the Word of God, and we have an obligation to read it all. Well, it's a part of our society. You see it all the time. Men go bald. That does not mean they're leprous. That does not mean they have a contagious disease. And the priest would know in this time, the Bible times, how to decide and decipher what was leprosy and what was not leprosy. I want you to know that I love you, my friends. I love you with the love of the Lord. If you would like to contact me for any reason, you can write me at the Word with Chester Ministries, Post Office Box 2000603, San Antonio, Texas 78220. You can also reach me at my website, www.poemsbychester.com. Remember the announcements. We'll be singing on Friday at the Big Easy Restaurant. We'll be singing on Saturday at the Comanche Park. We'll be singing on Friday the 27th in Dallas, Texas at the Faithful Missionary Baptist Church. All of those events you're welcome to. If you're in the San Antonio area, please come out and shake my hand and let me know who you are and where you saw me or where you heard me from. Many of our songs are sung throughout the radio, through the internet, and I do want you to know that I appreciate all of our listeners and all of our fans, whether they be listening to our music or listening to this ministry. Remember, I love you, my friends. I love you with the love of the Lord. God bless you.